Okay, so we talked about natural light, but what about artificial light? This can be incredibly, incredibly intimidating for people. I want you to approach this in a very simplistic way. You can get really deep into it. You can start to learn more about artificial light. There's a ton of incredible resources. If you're just starting out, Strobist 101 is a great place to start learning. And then there are other resources. Lindsay Adler is a great resource for really precisely controlled studio light. She's incredible at that. So there are some really good resources out there for when you decide, if you decide to start really getting deep into artificial light. For the sake of this lesson, I want to just kind of give you a broad overview, and then I want you to just kind of play with what you have. If you have a speed light, one that pops onto your camera, or you can control from a remote way with a whole thing, trigger and so forth. If you have that, that's great. If you don't stress about it either, because artificial light is literally just not natural light. So for the sake of practicing with artificial light, if you don't have anything official, you probably have something like this. And this is artificial light as well. So you can control your light with just whatever light you have. So don't stress about it if you're not working with intense equipment. In the lesson below, you're going to learn a little bit about the different types of light, artificial light. You have continuous lighting. That's like the lamp I was just showing you. It's always on. It's always going to be lighting in a specific way, however you set it up. Then we have flash and strobe lighting. This is very good if you are trying to do really intense lights, because strobe lights and flashlights are able to do quick bursts of extremely intense light, whereas continuous lighting has a little bit more less strength in those short bursts. They use continuous lighting in videography, film, and so forth. But in photography, you do tend to see more of the strobe light and flashlight. Again, different people have different styles. That's just the kind of standard. When you use a strobe light or a flash or a speed light, you are able to freeze that time in the second that it takes those shots. So you are going to see some interesting different things you can do with that, because it does open you up to a lot of different possibilities. One thing that I really enjoy doing is doing a long exposure and then having that flash of light when the curtain is closing. And what that does is it shows kind of the blurry motion that you get from a long exposure in low light, but then freezes that last millisecond when the flash goes off, and then you'll get those kind of interesting streaks and then a frozen motion. And you're going to see examples of that on the next page. So there are lots of different modifiers for artificial light. You're going to see some below. Ones that I particularly like, I love softboxes. I mentioned softbox in the natural light because when it's overcast, it's like a big softbox in the sky. But they range in size and shape and different ways that just really just softens the light. The flash is in there and it shoots through like a screen of varying size, like I said, and it just kind of diffuses that light, spreads it out. You can get really creative if you really want like a really tight light for some reason. There's something called a snoot, and a snoot is like a tiny little funnel, and it really pushes that light through a small diameter at the end. Other things, umbrellas are quite popular. Instead of shooting through like you would in a softbox, it's bouncing off the back of the umbrella and then back onto your subject. An easy one also is reflectors. There's an image below. I'll put it in the video here. But that image of this man, this is a headshot, like a traditional headshot for a business. Basically, this only has one artificial source of light, and that was in softbox in an octagon shape, so an octabox, to his top left, our top right of the frame. And if you look closely in his eyes, you can actually see that catch light. And then to fill in any kind of extra shadows that would appear on his face, I'm having him actually hold a large silver reflector right below his chest. So he's holding it, angling it slightly towards himself, low down, and then the octabox is going to fire. It hits him, it hits the reflector, and it bounces back up, filling in all those ugly shadows that you get under the eyes, under the nose, and so forth. So that's a really nice and simple setup for the nice, clean headshot. But you can use whatever you want. Gels are really fun. Gels are colored pieces of thin plastic that you put over, and when you shoot through it, it's going to project that color out. So those are really fun to get creative with. If you don't have any of these like specific pieces, you can still reflect off of things just like we were talking about in the last video. So go ahead and read this. And again, take it in a non-intimidating way. Think about it as just a fun exercise in trying to work through light and how to control it. And if you don't have any of these pieces of equipment, I suspect most of us don't, it's okay. Think about how you can control whatever artificial light you have available to you. And we will see you in the next video.